Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Astronomy Answered Simply. I'm your host, John, freethinker and, well, lover of astronomy and physics and math and science and all things interesting. Today, I'm going to answer another question off Quora. That is, I just kind of found it fun and what I want to do early this morning, or what I wanted to answer today. The question is, we are increasingly thinking of colonizing other planets because we will be more and more overcrowded. Why not, before conquering the stars, let's not move to the bottom of our oceans? Isn't it less difficult to accommodate? Well, aside from the grammatical issues in the question, it's the why don't we move to the bottom of the oceans instead of trying to colonize other planets? Well, let's talk about this. Why aren't we focusing on colonizing the oceans instead of other planets? And, well, there's a couple of reasons. One, we've been using the oceans as our dumping ground for trash for decades, and we need to stop. And we need to cut down the amount of trash we use because the oceans are pretty much what allow our entire planet and our entire civilization to survive. Two, believe it or not, it would be much more difficult to engineer a city under the ocean than in outer space. Now, okay, there's mitigating circumstances because launch costs, we're talking, $10,000 per kilogram to get something from the Earth to space, and it does not cost that much because if you drop something heavy in the ocean, it'll just sink right to the bottom. So that's different. However, under the ocean, you have tremendous amount of pressure to deal with. And even a shallow city, like a city at, say, 60 or 100 feet, would be dealing with 3 to 4 times the atmospheric pressure at the surface of the Earth. So instead of 15 pounds per square inch, or what would that be? 7 kilograms per square inch. Anyway, let's go with a nice round number of 15 psi per square inch. You'd be dealing with 45 pounds per square inch of pressure. So it's tremendous amounts of engineering that have to go in, and you would need incredibly strong structures, which we could build, but at huge expense, and they would be very fragile with our current technology. The other reason why we look to the stars and look towards Mars, or recent news has phosphine showing up on Venus, and so now there's going to be more eyes on Venus. But the reasons we're looking at the moon or Mars or even possibly some asteroids is because space has no atmosphere and no it's huge, it's vast, and if a giant asteroid were to hit the Earth, we would actually have people living off Earth that could come back and, once the planet settled down after the impact, could restart our civilization, because there is no place else quite like Earth for us that we can get to. Mars would take, given our current technology, it would probably be 100 to 300 years before it would be able to self-sustain. I think they could do it before that. However, law of unintended consequences, as bright as we are as humans, we cannot possibly foresee every circumstance that would happen on Mars. And on Mars, while it's very lightweight in gravity, being only 38% that of Earth, you still have tremendously high windstorms, incessant dust that is so fine it would clog air filters, clog engines, clog machines. Things would break down very quick. Things would get corroded very fast on Mars. The engineering on Mars is going to be incredibly challenging. We could do it, but I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of loss of life in the process. And everything we send for an initial outpost colony, whether it be scientific or, with the intent of living permanently on Mars, we pretty much need to send at least 5 times what we expect they will need, because you can't just run out to 7-Eleven or run out to the grocery store or run out to get a pizza delivered. They have to build, make, manufacture, take care of literally everything themselves. So we will have to provide food, medicine, etc. Now, the oceans, going back to the question itself, why not the oceans? All of that stuff is much more accessible on the oceans, but you have the pressure to deal with. If you go beyond 100 feet deep and you start looking at 300 or 500, it's dark. It's extremely dark. I mean, you go beyond 500 feet deep and it's nighttime all the time. There's no light. Maybe on a super duper 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 clear water day, you might see an inkling of light, a speck of the sun. It'll be this pale blue dot from several hundred feet down. But I've been a scuba diver. I was a scuba diver for many, many years. And even at 100 feet, 120 feet, it can get pretty dark down there. And that's extremely shallow. Many of our oceans are miles deep. And it takes a while to get back up. There's a lot of considerations in terms of time, temperature, pressure, depth. So it's not that easy. It's doable. I think we will have ocean cities one day. Strangely, what would be much more practical would be floating cities that use small engines to maintain their location in a close proximity, and they're basically gigantic, call it rafts, if you will. You could tether them to the bottom of the ocean with long chains so that they're very stable, but they would also be able to ebb and flow in height. You could build it on pontoons so that they're the actual population is not affected by the waves with hydraulics. It would be much more practical than subsurface cities, at least given our current limitations of engineering and technology. I think we'll get there, just like I think in 500 to 1,000 years we'll actually be able to develop a space elevator. But that's another question for another video. So thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, send me video requests. Have a great day. Bye-bye.